Begin making a knot for the slip cast on. Take a length of yarn and Levisa 15-20 cm 6-8-inch tail. Cross the short tail over the working yarn to form a loop. Pinch the crossover point with your left hand. With your right hands, reach through the loop and pull through a section off short tail. A slip knot is formed. Place it on the knitting needle and tighten the loop until it can comfortably accommodate twin needles. For the first stitch, insert the right hand needle into the stitch below. Wrap the yarn once around the right hand needle. Pull through a loop and slip it onto the left hand needle. For the second stitch, insert needle between the first and stitches on the second left hand needle. Wrap the yarn once around the right hand needle. Pull through a loop and slip it onto the left hand needle. Continue repeating the steps for its second stitch. Helpful tip: pressing the tip off right hand needle with your index fingers can make the process easier. This is the pattern we are going to knit. Cast on a total of 23 stitches. Count one loop as one stitch. Follow the previous steps of inserting the needle, wrapping the yarn, pulling through a loop, and slipping it onto the needle. Repeat this method until all 23 stitches are cast on. This is how it should look after casting on 23 stitches. These 23 stitches form 3 such patterns repeats in total. If you want to knit 5 such pattern repeats, you'll need to cast on 38 stitches, following same method as for the 23 stitches. We will now knit the first row. For the first stitch, knit into the first stitch on the left hand needle, wrapping the yarn, pull through a loop, and slip the original stitch off the left hand needle. From the second stitch to the 7th stitch, knit these 6 stitches. Repeat knitting the first stitch the knitting stitches. After knitting the 6 stitches, including the edge stitches the first stitch, you will have knitted a total of 7 stitches. Then, bring the yarn forward to knit 3 brioche stitches. For the brioche stitch, the yarn is already in over the front right hand needle, so first perform a yarn over. Slip purlwise from the next stitch left hand needle to the right hand needle. This is Calade slipping a stitch purlwise. Then, insert the right hand needle knitwise into the next 2 stitches together and knit themis 1. 1 brioche stitch is now completed. Next, repeat the process. First, bring the yarn to the front under the right hand needle. Slip 1 stitch purlwise, then knit the next 2 stitches together. Works 1 more brioche stitch in this manner, making a total stitches of 3 brioche. The sequence is: yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit 2 stitches together. Three brioche stitches are now completed. Next, continue by knitting 6 stitches. These are 6 knit stitches. For the final stitches, bring the yarn to the front and purl it. The last stitches of every row should be purled, with the yarn in front over the right hand needle. Insert the needle purlwise into the stitch, wrap the yarn, and pull through a loop. The first row is now complete. Gently pull the yarn tail to tighten the edge for a neater finish. Next, we'll knit the second row. The pattern repeats for the second row is the same as the first row, working in sets of 6 stitches. The brioche stitch section also forms a 6-stitch repeat, which includes a yarn over increase. Each square of the checkerboard the pattern is composed of a 6-stitch repeat. For the first stitch of the second row, slip the stitches with working it. Note: the first stitch of the first row was knitted. However, starting from the second row, the first stitch of every row should simply be slipped. Insert the right hand needle knitwise into the stitches on the left hand needle and slip it across. This is called slipping a stitch knitwise. 1 stitch is slipped. In the first row at this position, we knitted 6 stitches. For the second row at the corresponding position, we also knit 6 stitches. After knitting these, including the edge stitch, there will be add a total of 7 stitches on the right hand needle. For the next checkerboard square, bring the yarn forward to work 3 brioche stitches. You'll see that on the left hand needles, there are 3 distinct grips, each consisting of 2 slipped stitches with their yarn overs held together. First, bring the yarn under the right hand needle to the front, making a yarn over. Slip the first stitch purlwise without knitting it. Knit the next 2 stitches together. The first brioche stitch is now complete. For the second brioche stitch, bring the yarn forward, yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise. Knit the next 2 stitches together. Continue by bringing the yarn forward, yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, then knit 2 stitches together. 3 brioche stitches are now complete. Next, we reach the third square of the checkerboard second row. In the first row, we knitted 6 stitches here. For the corresponding position in the second row, we will also knit 6 stitches. When you reach the final stitch, remember that the last stitch of every row is always purled. The second row is now complete. Turn the work. Now, let's look at the pattern sequence for the second row. First, knit 6 stitches. Then, work 3 brioche stitches. Next, knit another 6 stitches. The edge stitches on both sides remain consistent. Slip the first stitch knitwise on every row, and always purl the last stitch. Next, changes are made for row 3 and row 4. For the sections where you knitted stitches in rows 1 and 2, you will now purl those stitches in rows 3 and 4. This includes the subsequent 6-stitch section that was previously knitted. The brioche stitch sections remain unchanged. Okay, let's begin the demonstration. For the first stitch of row 3, slip it knitwise without knitting. Bring the yarn from behind to the right hand needle under the front to the purl position. Next, we will purl 6 stitches. Insert the needle purlwise and toed stitches, wrap the yarn, and pull through a loop. Continue purling 5 more stitches. Next, work the brioche stitch. The yarn is already in front, so no need to move it. Slip the next stitch purlwise. Knit the following 2 stitches together. 1 brioche stitch is complete. Now the yarn is at the back, so bring it to the front. Slip 1 stitch purlwise, then knit 2 stitches together. Yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit 2 stitches together. The 3 brioche stitches are now complete. Next, purl 6 stitches. Purl the last stitch. Continue knitting row 4. Slip the first edge stitch without knitting. Continue working in this row, purl stitches. With the yarn in front, purl 6 stitches. When you reach the brioche stitch section, the yarn is already in front. Slip 1 stitch purlwise, then knit the next 2 stitches together. Yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit 2 stitches together. The 3 brioche stitches are now complete. Next, purl 6 stitches. Purl the last stitch. The first 4 rows are now complete. Reviewing the pattern sequence, we will now repeat these 4 rows 3 more times for a total of 12 rows. Row 13 will be different, with a slight change. This is the result after knitting 12 rows. This is the right side. You might place a marker at the beginning of this side for reference. For row 13, we will introduce a change, although the basic knitting techniques remain the same. We will swap the stitch patterns. The checkerboard squares of knitting and purl stitches will be replaced with brioche stitch, and the brioche stitch sections will be replaced with knitting and purl stitches. Let's first examine the pattern for the next 4 rows. This means rows 13 to 16. Repeat these 4 rows 3 times, working through to row 24 to create an alternating carber-back pattern. This section shows the first 12 rows. This section shows these set of 12 rows, i.e., rows 13 to 24. Subsequently, simply repeat 24-row pattern sequence stabilized above. We'll now begin the knitting a set of 12 rows, starting with row 13. These rows are worked as a 4-row pattern repeats, worked 3 times. Slip the first stitch without knitting. Here, we'll convert these 6 stitches into brioche stitches. For the first step of the brioche stitch, bring the yarn to the front, yarn over. Slip the next stitch purlwise without knitting it. Normally, the third step of a brioche stitch is to knit the next 2 stitches together. However, in this row, we are converting individual stitches into brioche, so instead, knit only the single next stitch. In the next row, the brioche stitch will return to its normal sequence, then work to more brioche stitches. The first pattern section stitches of 3 brioche is now complete. Not counting the edge stitches, you will see 3 groups of stitches, each group forming one brioche stitch repeated. We will now convert the brioche stitch section from the previous row into knit stitches. Knit the first stitch normally. Then, knit the next to stitch a together. Knitted 1 stitch normally. Then, knit the next to stitch a together. Repeat this process for third brioche stitch group. The conversion from brioche stitches to knit stitches is now complete. This reduces the stitch count from 9 stitches to 6 stitches. Summary: the first pattern section increases from 6 stitches to 9. The second section decreases from 9 stitches back to 6. For the third pattern section, continued by working 3 brioche stitches. Bring the yarn to the front yarn over. Slip the next stitch purlwise. Knit the next single stitch. Yarn over, slip 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch. Repeat this sequence 2 more times to complete 3 brioche stitches. Bring the yarn to the front and purl the last stitch. Turn the work to begin row 14. This is the second row off second pattern group. First, slip the first stitch knitwise without knitting. Then, work 3 brioche stitches, yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit to stitch a together. This differs from the row previous one. We now resume working the standards brioche stitching without changing the stitch counts. Simply follow the standard sequence, knitting the next 2 stitches together to form the brioche stitch. For the second brioche stitch, yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together. Repeat this once more to complete 3 brioche stitches. Next we reach the section where, in the previous row, we're converting the brioche stitches into 6 knit stitches. Now, knit 6 stitches. Bring the yarn to the front and work 3 more brioche stitches. Again, follow the standard sequence. Yarn over, slip 1 upperwise, knit the 2 together. Purl the last stitch. Row 14 is now complete. Now begin working the third row of the second pattern group, which is row 15. Slip the first edge stitch knitwise without knitting. Bring the yarn to the front and works 3 brioche stitches normally. Next, you will reach the section where you knitted 6 stitches in previous row. In this row, we will changes to purl stitches. According to the pattern sequence, rows 3 and 4 off each group are worked in purl stitches here. Next, purl 6 stitches. Then, work 3 brioche stitches. The yarn is already in front, so there is no need to bring forward it again. Slip 1 stitch purlwise, then knit the next to stitch a together. Continue working to Marie brioche stitches. Purl the last stitch. Continue to row 16, the 4th row of the second pattern group. Slip the first edge stitch with knitting. Then, work 3 brioche stitches. At the section that was purled in the previous row, purl the 6 stitches again in this row. The pattern for these 4 rows is 2 rows of knitting stitches followed by 2 rows of purl stitches for the checkerboard sections, while the brioche sections remain as brioche stitches. Next, work 3 brioche stitches. For the first stitch, the yarn is already in front, so no need to bring it forward again. Next, purl the last stitch. The 4 rows of the second pattern repeats are now complete rows 13-16. Repeat these 4 rows 2 more times, which will complete a total of 12 rows up to row 24, finishing the second pattern block. Thereafter, the fabric is built by repeating the first 12-row block, then the second 12-row block alternately until the desired length is achieved. Now we can begin binding off. Slip the first stitch knitwise with it knitting. Knit the next stitch. You will now have to stitch us in the right hand needle. Pass the first stitch on the right hand over the needle second stitch and off the needle. This is the basic bind-off method. When you reach a brioche stitch section, you'll need to knit that 2 strands of the stitches together. Knitted these 2 strands together as 1 knit stitch K to tog. Then, as before, passed the previous stitch over this newly knitted stitches and off the needle. For a regular knitting stitch, knit the next stitch, then passed previous stitch over. For a brioche stitch, the 2 strands are worked together, knit 2 together K2 tog, then pass the previous stitches over. Continue repeating this bind-off process. When you encounter a brioche stitch, simply knit its 2 strands together as 1 stitch before passing the previous stitch over. Continue until 1 stitch remains. For the last stitch, knit it as usual and still perform the pass-over action from the previous stitch. When only 1 loop remains in the right hand needle, cut yarn, leaving a tail, pull the tail completely through the last loop to secure it. Thread the yarn tail onto tapestry needles. Weave the yarn tails through stitches on the wrong side off the work. Gently pull the yarn through and adjust the fabric. Weave the yarn tail a few more times in an inconspicuous area, then trim excess yarn with scissors. The project is now finished.